Welcome to the Motherhood Alliance podcast, the podcast dedicated to empowering moms and families on their health and wellness journey. I'm Brittany Suttner.
And I'm Andrea Rinkus. Together, we're here to explore holistic approaches that go beyond conventional medicine.
Each week, we dive into topics that matter most to you. Everything from nutrition and mental health to alternative therapies and natural living.
And whether you're a new mom navigating the early stages of parenthood or a seasoned pro looking for new ways to support your family's well-being, you're in the right place.
Even better, all of our guests are local small business owners who you can actually talk to and work with. You can learn more about today's guest and connect with hundreds of other health and wellness professionals through our informative and easy-to-use directory at motherhoodalliance.com.
Before we get started, keep in mind that this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for personal healthcare advice. Please consult your healthcare provider before making any changes based on the podcast content.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. Are you ready to help your family thrive? Let's get started. Hi, we are Britt and Andrea from motherhoodalliance.com, and we are excited to welcome you to a 4-episode series with Dr. Rachel Tippins, the owner of Flow Family Chiropractic in Kaukauna, Wisconsin. Dr. Rachel was introduced to the chiropractic field when she was a teenager, and she quickly fell in love with the concept of the body healing itself and a career that could support it to do just that. Fast forward to today, and Dr. Rachel now owns a laughter-filled and kid-friendly practice that specializes in pediatric and perinatal care. She says that her biggest passion is to empower pregnant moms through their perinatal journey, as well as supporting families in the postpartum transition and seeing them flourish when their bodies are functioning optimally. In our first 2 episodes together, our conversations answer some of your most common questions for chiropractors as we discuss Chiropractic 101, myths, facts, and everything in between in episode 1, and aligning your mind and body, the anti-stress power of chiropractic care in episode 2. In our 3rd and 4th episodes together, we dive into the more specific topics of like how chiropractic can help your kids thrive and how chiropractic can be a huge supporter for women before, during, and after pregnancy. With that said, even if you don't have kids or are not in the childbearing years, we bet you know someone who is. So please share these episodes with them. Dr. Rachel is such a fun person, and she brings so much of her natural joy, energy, and passion to these episodes. Let's dive into today's conversation. Welcome back to episode 4 with Dr. Rachel. We are so excited to finish up with you in our last episode together. This has gone too fast, and I feel like we could do 4 more episodes with you.
Probably. Yep.
Maybe
easily.
we will.
We were trying to
probably
get
will.
Rachel
Yep.
to stick around the rest of the day too, so we just could hang out with her. But that's fine.
So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about exploring perinatal wellness through chiropractic. I feel like people might be going, I've heard of prenatal. I've heard of postpartum. What is perinatal?
Yeah. Yep. I think this is a perfect place to start. So what perinatal is encompassing the entire time period surrounding pregnancy, conception, and postpartum. So when we say perinatal, we're referring to the preconception time period. So before you're even pregnant, conception time period, and then all of pregnancy and into postpartum. So, and I mean, I'm a firm believer that postpartum is forever. Like postpartum you don't ever go back to like not having grown a human and like not having like been pregnant. So that I think that the perinatal period can be a different like timeline for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
You had mentioned that when you went to college, or your chiropractic school, you knew you wanted to work with kids.
Yeah.
But why did you also choose to specialize in perinatal?
Yeah. So just, I think kind of like the overlapping, like of the populations is what kind of like brought me into it. And through my involvement with our, ICPA club at chiropractic school, obviously like kids was a major part of that, but then talking about pregnancy and serving moms during pregnancy. And that's when I first learned about like the term perinatal and how pregnancy leads into postpartum. And I learned a lot from one of the internships I did in chiropractic school was with a woman, a chiropractor, Dr. Shannon Good, she's one of the ICPA club advisors at Life University, and she was one of my instructors. And we have an amazing friendship and relationship, and she's been an amazing mentor for me my entire like chiropractic career. And she was the first one that kind of like really introduced me to like perinatal as a like term postpartum and perinatal as just an approach and kind of like it's more of like even perinatal just as a mindset. And I learned so much about postpartum and changes postpartum and being in her office and just talking with her and learning from her how much women's bodies change postpartum and how undersupported the perinatal like time period is and how undersupported postpartum is. I mean, there's so much change going on in a woman's body and in a woman's life in that time. I mean, in our last couple episodes, we talked about physical, chemical stress, mental and emotional stress. I mean, what like prime example of all of those is this example. So physical stress from growing and birthing a human, and now your body physically trying to navigate and adapt back to a new non-pregnant state. There's no bounce back. That doesn't exist. And we need to completely take it out of our like culture and our verbiage. And then the chemical stress of like we talked about previously with hormone changes and how our bodies are navigating those internal changes. And like the mental emotional stress of like adding a new human to your lives and adding a new human to your family. And especially if it's the like first birth and first postpartum experience, your entire day-to-day changes, like your entire life, like complete 180 flips. And so that's a huge stressor as you're navigating like your own internal changes and then getting to know this new human and finding balance of this new human and how your relationship with your partner changes in that time period as well.
Yeah.
So
I just find it super cool that like you started with the, really big intention of working with kids and stuff like that. And you went, you obviously had that, but then you also have that, introduction into the perinatal space, which you don't have kids yet.
No.
Which it's
soon,
amazing
maybe.
that you're so passionate and educated ahead. I mean, you will be educated when you have kids.
I hope so.
Too. Oh, no, you will learn.
It's a different world though, when you're like in it as a mom.
Right.
So.
As a mom, you're going to really have that more, obviously the experience in itself. But I just love that because moms tend to get kind of thrown to the side in a way not even in a way. It does happen. It seems like it.
Yep.
And that's part of why we just, we started where we started too, is just a lot of people focusing on the kid, the baby and stuff.
Yeah.
But now like, I love that you incorporated and so passionate about helping that perinatal population.
I think there's so much,
and there's so much connection there. You helping baby, but you have to help mom too.
Yes, 100%. I mean, there is that quote that says that everyone wants to hold the baby, but who's going to hold the mom?
Exactly.
And it just gives me chills.
I know.
And just thinking about that, like, just gives me chills because you see mom, and I think especially like our healthcare system fails women in the perinatal period and in the postpartum period, just terribly. I mean, you have these distinct, like from like your first like a prenatal appointment. Sometimes it's hard for me to say prenatal because I'm not used to it anymore. But the exact timeline of each like week by week when those appointments are going to be, what's going to happen at those appointments. And then you climb this mountain all the way up and you go through the climax of like bringing your baby like earthside. And then it's like, okay, take this human home. Good luck. We'll see you in 6 weeks for maybe not even like a physical check. The amount of women that I hear that like go in for a 6-week postpartum check and they don't even like nothing's actually physically checked. It's just a conversation, which is a good conversation to check in on. But like if you're not physically checking, like what? Yeah.
Oh, crazy. We could have a whole episode on a high horse on that.
So for those of you who don't know, Drea and I are prenatal and postpartum specialized personal trainers, and that's our history. So if you want to know our background, you can go back to episode 1 where we kind of tell our story of how the Motherhood Alliance was born. So yes, we could sit on this topic here all day. But I do have a couple questions related to perinatal wellness, specifically for chiropractic.
Yeah.
But before we talk about pregnancy, tell us how chiropractic can be helpful for those who are trying to conceive.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, this really comes back to what we talked about in our last couple episodes, is really how our nervous system is functioning. So if our nervous system is functioning and we're in more of this fight or flight state and we're in this real like protection state, your body is fighting to keep you alive on a consistent day-to-day basis. It doesn't have the capacity to then grow and keep another human alive inside of you. So we really have to work on that regulation and getting your nervous system more into this calming, parasympathetic resting state, because that parasympathetic nervous system is what controls all of our proper immune function and digestive function and hormone function and all of that. So if we can have better balance in your body overall and talk more from a movement standpoint and a nutritional standpoint and all of that, it's going to help then support the conception time period. And then how you go and what your baseline is going into from preconception, like really like it leads the way into how you go into pregnancy, and then your health and your state in pregnancy leads how you go into postpartum. So the preconception time period is really the baseline of all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, obviously you have a lot of education. We did talk in previous episodes, you are certified through BirthFit, and you that's not part of your chiropractic school. You are taking these certifications.
Yep, totally separate. Because I feel like I can't properly serve the people in my space and can't properly serve our environment and give advice and recommendations if I don't first understand like all of it, especially like you said, like not having gone through it myself yet. Right. I think it's even more important that I have that extra education in how that all works and how it all changes and everything with that.
So when a woman is pregnant and she's coming in to see you and she wants to reap all these benefits we've talked about in all 4 episodes about all the things that chiropractic, the benefits that they provide. So I'm sure a lot of people are like, is this safe for my baby? Yeah. And even taking that one step further, are you like adjusting the baby's position at all? Or are you just adjusting mom? Tell us how that works.
So really, really good question. So let's dive into the Webster Technique. So the Webster Technique is a chiropractic analysis that is designed for pregnancy. So the Webster Technique addresses the bony and soft tissue structures of the pelvis to create as much balance as possible so that mom can be as comfortable as possible and that mom can be as balanced, aligned, neutral as possible during pregnancy, which then also gives baby as much room to grow and develop and then get into and engage in a head down position to prepare for the labor process. So, and I do think that the Webster Technique is like the baseline for pregnancy care. But that's why I do think that finding someone that has even more certifications and even more experience outside of that. So there is additional like advanced perinatal certification through the ICPA as well as BirthFit. I've done spinning babies trainings, a dynamic body balancing, all that kind of stuff can like play a huge role in how we're like addressing all those different tissues because everything's connected. So you don't just adjust one thing and then expect one change. Like everything is connected and moves together. So, and especially during pregnancy, there's so much movement and so much change happening.
Yeah. Every time someone comes in, they're either feeling something different or, they're just,
the body changes so much.
Exactly. So much. And during different like stages of pregnancy to see those different like changes and stuff as well. So yeah.
What is the schedule, like recommended schedule kind of look like for someone? Is it more like, oh, you're having SI joint pain, now you should come in? Or is it more of that like wellness approach? Hey, we recommend coming in like once a month throughout your pregnancy, or maybe as you're getting closer to your potential delivery time, we want to make sure you're aligned and you're really thriving right before delivery. So maybe a couple more visits then. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Yep. So obviously every care plan is unique and individual based on person to person. So if someone comes in the beginning of their pregnancy, and again, at our office, we're taking that overarching like neurological approach. So we do some additional testing with perinatal patients, but we are really looking at like all that functional neurology testing to begin with. So really let's address how your nervous system is functioning. So we often go through that like more rigorous restoration care plan to begin with. And then after that, like most often we recommend in general, people come in like weekly or biweekly for adjustments just because a lot of stuff happens in a week or in 2 weeks. So again, that takes a toll on how our nervous system is functioning. And we want to keep your nervous system as adaptable as possible. But let's say that someone maybe already went through that entire restoration care plan and they're already on to lifestyle or wellness care and then they get pregnant. So generally we continue with like wherever their normal care plan was at, weekly or biweekly. Depending on what's going on. Most of our like biweekly moms kind of around like week like 20, 25 or so, then they start wanting to come in like once a week kind of thing. Sometimes like we go a little bit longer. Sometimes it's earlier. Oftentimes I'll see moms that end up wanting to come in like once a week as we're kind of rounding out that first trimester, going into second trimester, because around week 12 to 14 is when relaxin starts surging in our body. And relaxin is a hormone that we all have, but during pregnancy, it really ramps up and it creates a lot more like loosey-goosiness in our joints, our muscles, our tendons, ligaments, that kind of stuff. stuff, and we're just less stable. So we don't hold adjustments as long as we used to before. So we kind of like play around with what things look like there. And then generally I actually do start seeing moms twice a week by the time we get to like week 32, 33, 34 of pregnancy, because at that point, again, so much change has happened. Third trimester, baby's job is to get big and pack on the pounds. So there's a lot going on. And by that point, baby's head should weigh more than body by the time we get to that week, like 32, 33-ish time. And so we want them, like obviously with gravity, we want baby to flip head down, and then we want them to stay head down and engage head down. And with that, most often we see that pretty good consistency with baby's placement. It's very infrequent that I see moms that we've been on that kind of like trajectory with a care plan that end up with breech positioning. It has happened like once or twice that I can remember right now. But otherwise, most of the time, like baby stays and then engages, and we're in that head down position to optimize like positioning for delivery and birth process.
So are you helping to position the baby at all, or are you just making sure that mom has optimal
Yep. Good question.
alignment?
Yep. So, moving, adjusting baby and like a baby's positioning, that kind of stuff. Like there's often like misconceptions that chiropractors flip breech babies and things like that. Those are all like practicing obstetrics. So that's absolutely out of the scope of chiropractic. But in the chiropractic scope, like we kind of talked about in the last episode, chiropractic care versus treatment, we're not treating a breech baby kind of thing. We are using the Webster Technique and using those advanced like fascia releases, muscle releases and stuff to work on creating as much balance as we can in the pelvis so that baby can go head down. And sometimes there are reasons that baby is breech and that baby like won't go head down. So much as sometimes like a super short umbilical cord and things like that, where like baby's positioning and like placenta positioning doesn't even allow for them to go head down kind of thing. So obviously we want to respect what the body is doing and what the body is telling us, but we want to optimize as best of chances as we can to get into that optimal position for birth.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously you're going to be helping support a healthy delivery too, or optimal delivery in that case too.
Yeah.
Let's talk about postpartum. So after baby's born, I mean, we've talked a little bit about this in the previous episode regarding babies and newborns.
Yeah.
But do you often see like the baby and mom at the same time if you can? Like it could be within a day or two, right?
Exactly.
Or
yeah.
more. But
for sure. So we try to get baby and mom in as soon as we can right away afterward. Obviously it's very much so dependent on like comfort levels. Some moms like want to come in right away. Some moms want to like get settled at home and give it a week or two before they come in. We just check in, keep that conversation open, see where things are at, and just see, we check in because we want to know how you're doing. Like we care about you so much. We saw you like all this way leading up to pregnancy. So how are you? How's it going? Like, can we support you in any way kind of thing? But then getting mom and baby in like right away is so important because like we talked about in our last episode, there's a lot of stress that's put on baby's body during the birth process, but there's so much stress put on mom's body, and mom's body goes through so much, and now navigating this new postpartum state, and your sleep isn't the same. And now if you're trying to nurse, ergonomics, positioning wise there is different, and just recovering as your uterus is trying to shrink back down, and now your core muscles are completely shifted and changed, and your spinal muscles and everything are shifted and changed too.
And with our personal training background, this helps me think about like how oftentimes women are talking about leaking after they have their babies, or diastasis, which is the separation of your abdominal muscles, and how that needs to come back together and heal over time. So I would assume that chiropractic can be very beneficial in helping to aid those, just because of all of the, like you talked about, the brain-body connection and just things flowing well and being aligned. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep, for sure. So obviously there's like the neurological side of that. That's very important in making sure that the nervous system is balanced as well. But there also is a big part of like that musculoskeletal component that plays a role in here, because all those abdominal muscles have to attach to your joints and have to attach to like your skeleton. So making sure that your spine, your ribs, your pelvis, all of that is aligned plays a major role in that, because during pregnancy, there's so much of that rib flaring that happens and the pelvic tilting, more like pressure put into like the low back facet joints and stuff like that. So if everything is out of whack and off balance postpartum, which is very common. And I would like, almost, I mean, I always say there's like a balance between like common and normal, but like, I would say that's normal after birth because of the pressures and everything that you go through with birth, trying to create more balance there and to work on, creating better alignment within those joints areas so that those muscles can come back online and can fire better and rehab better. Postpartum is huge.
And I would add too, like, it's not just going to the chiropractor and getting adjusted.
Yes.
And, even if you see, even if they see you like once or twice a week, even after, it's about lifestyle too. And I know
100%.
that's something that you talk about too in in your office, is that it's not just about like coming here and getting adjusted and stuff. It's actually how you move your body on a daily basis, how your posture is. And that's something that we talk about all the time too. It's so vital that you work on that stuff too and get educated.
Yeah, nope. I would 100% agree. It's a huge part of our like lifestyle habits and what we do on a daily basis impacts how we maintain and like stay balanced between adjustments. But then again, I'll come back and say that it takes a village to raise a baby, but it also takes a village to raise a mom. And making sure that mom has that proper support with pelvic floor PT and postpartum corrective exercise specialists and all of that, like as a whole balance realm together is so important.
With your birth fit background, do you give perspective or even exercises specifically on helping moms start to restore those deep core muscles and stuff?
Yep, for sure. So that's a big part of what we talk about. And a lot of it is what we talk about even during pregnancy to work on like activating pregnancy and preconception to work on activating those core muscles and those deep core muscles and deep stabilizing muscles for our spine and for our deep core, not just those pretty 6-pack ab muscles. We got more than that going on. So we really want to work on activating those because the more that we can start with that, the better that can enhance that healing process. But there's never like we said, postpartum is forever. So there's never like a time that's too late to start. We can really work on that at any point. And so working on giving those recommendations, I will talk about that stuff in office, and then we'll often have Haley, one of my front desk girls, will send links to like send a text with links so that you can have like a video demonstration and something to come back to, and then we'll revisit it and kind of say like, okay, how'd that feel? Like what are you noticing there? Do we need to tweak anything? And give some recommendations like that.
Honestly, I think this is solid gold, you guys. If you are pregnant, like having a chiropractor in your corner who has this kind of background is like amazing, because this is the kind of stuff that I wish every chiropractor who especially has the perinatal expertise in would be able to help you with in pregnancy to prepare you for your postpartum recovery.
There's never too late or there's never too early for any of it. The more that we can take a preventative approach, I mean, in life in general, like is huge.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So to round out all of our episodes here, I feel like we have covered so much, much gold.
So much.
This has been awesome.
Yeah.
But I did want to ask one final question, and you could take this from the perinatal realm if you want to speak specifically to this population, or just in general. What is your best advice for maintaining a healthy spine and neurological function?
Yeah. Oh, a good one. Well, of course, I'm going to say get adjusted. That's always going to be a baseline. So of course, I mean, your adjustments, like we've talked about, play such a major role in how your brain communicates with your body. If there's interference, like your brain can't communicate with your body and tell your body what it's supposed to do. But then there is so much outside of that can also be so helpful to help support your adjustments and maintain balance with your adjustments. So proper core function is like a major part of like spine stability, making sure that we're strengthening our like extensor muscles, because everything is so far and forward and we're so hunched in so much of our daily life these days. So working on strength and stability is a major part of that, and working on like stress response and like checking in. I think something that we didn't talk as much about that I talk a lot about is rest. So we kind of mentioned it in our like I think stress episode, but taking time to rest. So much of our lives is so go, and that re-stimulates and reactivates that fight or flight response and that protection response over and over and over again. So if we can actually come back and learn that rest is not a reward, rest needs to be a priority, and we need to be able to like sit in the silence and sit in like the rest, and not like, for so much of us, like that's uncomfortable.
Wait,
like
you mean like laying on the couch scrolling social media doesn't count?
Like what? Nope, actually. Well, I mean, hey, sometimes it's the thing.
Rest can look a little different for everybody.
Exactly. Yes. And also, sometimes with rest though, it's like, can you do one thing at a time?
Right.
Like how many of us like want to sit down to watch a movie, but then end up like watching the movie and scrolling on social media at the same time?
Well, yeah.
And can you like cook a meal, or do you cook a meal and watch TV, or do you cook a meal and listen to a podcast at the same time?
Yeah,
and obviously like there's choices in that too. And like sometimes like that's when you choose to do those things, but if you wanted to, if you took the choice to just sit and do one thing and be mindful and focused on one thing, can we do that? Because that's a big sign. If we're trying to do too many things at one time and trying to multitask too much, that's another big sign of like that neurological dysfunction. So trying to, and that's an easy one to focus on, like just do one thing at a time. Focus, like when you're driving, just focus on driving, not listen to the radio. Don't take your phone to the bathroom. Don't like all those kinds of things. And just trying to be mindful in those moments is a huge part of really activating and like reestablishing that parasympathetic nervous system
simplify
control.
your life.
Yeah. And there's just so many different approaches you can take, even just 5 minutes, right? 5 minutes of that.
Exactly.
And if you think about scrolling through social media, is that really stressless too? You know what I mean?
Because how much of that then reactivates that fight or flight response when you see those posts and articles and videos and things.
Maybe,
I mean, there's so many things we talk about that.
I mean, this is not new by any means, but even just going for a 10-minute walk
That's
outside.
exactly what I was going to say. That's what I love doing.
Yep.
If I take 10 minutes and I just walk with or without a podcast or gentle music or something, that is just, it makes a huge difference. I can tell like this last 2 weeks, I haven't been walking and I can tell.
Feel it in your body.
Like
right?
next week, I'm back.
Yep.
Like, holy moly, I'm back.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for joining us for all of these conversations.
Yes,
these have
thank
been
you guys.
so
This is
enlightening.
amazing.
And thank you for serving these populations.
Oh my
because
gosh.
like we talked about,
an honor, truly.
It really does take like specialty knowledge to work with these populations.
Yeah.
So I think what you're doing is amazing. Let's talk one more time about how people can connect with you if they would like to learn more about your location and your office.
For sure. Well, first, I want to say thank you to you guys for everything that you do to serve these populations and to serve moms in our community and everything that you've been doing through the Motherhood Alliance and just creating that space and bringing awareness to that, especially like being a mom in general and like in the postpartum transition. Like you said, moms get thrown to the wayside. So bringing that attention back to moms to prioritize this time in our lives is like huge. So absolutely. So thank you for all that you do as well. But so people can find us. We're everywhere. We're on Instagram, Facebook. Well, we're not, I shouldn't say we're everywhere because I refuse to do the whole LinkedIn side of things and TikTok. It's too many things to manage. So we're on Instagram and Facebook. So, and of course our website, that give us a buzz, any of that kind of stuff.
FlowFamilyChiropractic.com.
Yep. You know it. Exactly. Yep.
Perfect.
And Flow Family Chiropractic on Facebook and then Flow Family Chiro with an _on Instagram.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank you guys.
This is wonderful.
If you enjoyed this episode, would you consider leaving a rating or review or sharing it directly with a friend who could benefit from the information? We know that you're a busy mom or caregiver, and our goal is to make your life easier by bringing tips and tricks directly from experts into your earbuds. By sharing this episode with someone you love, you can play a critical role in helping to make their life easier as well. We appreciate your time and thank you for being a part of the Motherhood Alliance family.